Dave, will you come outside and play with me? So guys, thanks for tuning in. We're recording on Monday. We'll release this on Tuesday. And part of how to react to a sermon, I think sometimes, is we need to reflect, okay? And oftentimes we do that in a group setting with your small group, and sometimes you do it personally or just with one other person or something like that. So today, sort of what we're going to be doing and talking about is we are going to personally reflect on some of the things that Luke has said and even maybe elaborate on some of those things too. So the idea this week was turn the other cheek. That's something that Jesus has said and taught about, and that's what Luke preached about. So first of all, if you haven't watched the sermon, go back and watch it.
Rewind.
Yes, rewind. Not really, it's a different video.
Click?
Yeah.
Another click.
Yeah, a couple clicks.
Scroll.
And watch that.
Skip.
But now we're just going to kind of talk about some personal applications and maybe some thoughts concerning what you said. So
Yeah. So I think in preparation for this video, we just kind of sat around and talked about like our own personal experiences with what it means to turn the other cheek and like how we would do that. So I think we're just going to maybe share a story or two from our own lives about a time that we successfully did that, or maybe unsuccessfully. You want to go first?
Yeah, so I think maybe it's easy to think, when we talk about something, when a small group leader talks about something, like, oh, they must be experts at that. And for me anyway, like I think my expertise is coming from my failures at it. Like there's been lots of times in my life where I get really frustrated with somebody, or someone's hurt me, or someone's intentionally come after me or come at me, or like the verbiage I used the other day, like they've slapped me and I want to slap them back. And like for me, the big thing was always, I want to make them feel the way I felt.
Yeah.
Like I want to make them hurt the way I hurt. I want to make them realize what I realized. I want to make them experience the uncomfortability, the pain, the frustration, fill in the blank, the way I did. And the thing that always was the hard lesson for me to learn was the times where I did slap back. It didn't do any good. Like I felt better about it for maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe half a day. And then like the guilt and the shame and the stupidity and the problem got worse. And oftentimes if I would retaliate and slap back, then they would come back even harder and it would just escalate. And what could have just been squashed by turning the other cheek just got out of control.
I think some of that is like an instant gratification thing. If
Absolutely.
you feel bad, you want someone else to feel bad.
Yep.
And you're not really thinking long term. This destroys our relationship. And this not only makes us look bad, it hurts both of us. It's just like you don't even think about what you're doing. And I mean, part of what we're talking about is let's think before we do sometimes too. So you go ahead, sorry.
No, that's real accurate. And for me, I think one of the realizations as I got older in life was realizing if Jesus said we only have two things to do, love God and to love people, I can't love people when I'm trying to pay them back. I can't try to reenact my vengeance on them and say that I love them at the same time. I'm a liar to myself and to other people. Yeah. And there's reasons. Everything that God gives us instructions to do isn't just because he's some fun kill. Like he's got reasons for it. Like if we slap back at somebody, we're destroying the relationship, just like Dave said. And the more we escalate that, the less chances are to repair that. And as I represent Jesus, if I'm attacking someone else, I'm not representing Jesus well at all. Even if they deserved it, they don't really deserve it. And it's just a frustrating part. So I can think back to times in my life where like playing sports where I knew that I deserved to play above somebody else, and I just get so mad because I think they were schmoozing the coach, or they were brown nosing, or they were their parent was having a beer with the coach on Friday night after the game, and that's why they got to play more. And there were so many times where I just wanted to get back and just realize, like in the grand scheme of things, I was so insignificant compared to how I carried myself and how I could have conversation with or about those people in the future was so much more, filled with integrity because I didn't slap back or because I didn't retaliate.
That's good. I had a friend when I was younger who was really close with me and with my family, and some things just kind of happened in our relationship, like all of us together, that were difficult, and some untruths were said, and just hurt feelings ended up happening. And the hard part about that whole relationship was that a lot of people knew her and a lot of people knew me and my family, and I was challenged like with my own personal response because there were some things that I felt like if other people knew those things, that they would be on my side or like appreciate the hurt that I was feeling more if they understood it. But I remember really clearly like God just being really honest with me and saying, Kaylee, like you need to keep your mouth shut, and if this is truly the character that she has, like it will be revealed in other ways. And I wrestled inside of myself because I wanted her, like you said, I wanted her to experience some of the pain that I had felt, because I wanted to tell people like my side of the story so that they would understand the hurt that she had caused and would be angry with her. Like it was a pretty manipulative slapback. Like it was, if I can get other people on my side, then they won't like her and they'll like me. But like God was really clear with me and just said like, you keep your mouth shut about this, and if that is really what her character is, then it will be revealed in other ways. And I think that was a decision that like was really difficult, and I had to wrestle through like putting aside the wrong that she had done with me from my response to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you have to like separate those two things, and like I had to come to grips with like that I did feel like she had wronged me, but it wasn't my responsibility to make sure other people knew that.
No. So I probably won't give a specific story necessarily, but I'll tell you a little bit about how I've handled people metaphorically slapping me in the past. For me, some people, I think both of you kind of said this, when someone slaps you, you want to slap them back. That's like your first reaction. I definitely have that reaction sometimes, but that's not that's not initially how I'll respond. Like for me, especially when it's like the third or fourth time someone hurts me, I'll step away. And in some cases, like in certain cases in a relationship, you need to step away. Like physical abuse, step away. It's pretty clear. But in some cases, by me stepping away, it may seem like a wise decision long term, but I would say that my regret there is I probably missed opportunities to share Christ's forgiveness and love with that person. You know, even though they hurt me, I mean, if you're in a relationship, friends, or more than friends, like you're gonna hurt the other person. It's just a reality. So I'm not saying run away from that person as soon as you get hurt the first time, but I'm saying I probably cut relationships off too soon and never was able to fully show someone forgiveness. So they're like, my regret when it comes to turning the other cheek is I never really turned the other cheek. I never slapped back, but I just walked away. So I never was able to necessarily turn the other cheek and show forgiveness to people.
I think this idea too, like when, like if you make the decision to go forward with like a reaction, it says a lot more about you than it does about that person. And I don't know, maybe I care too much about what people think about me, but like I would rather allow the good actions of my life to speak for themselves versus like a negative response that I'd give in an emotional moment.
Well, and even like what you said, even if your slapback isn't necessarily the same thing that they do to you, if your goal is to make other people think badly about that person, I mean, it's exactly what you said. That's slapping back just as much. It's just a different way to do it, you know. That's retaliation, and that's not what God calls us to do, you know.
And it's kind of like taking that passage that Luke was talking about on Sunday and saying like, okay, by law, like taking it right out of the Bible, like by law, if someone hits you, then you can have an equal like retaliation or response to that. But Jesus is saying, don't just respond that way and amplify it. Don't respond at all and take it again. Like he's saying, open yourself up for there to be the chance that you could be hurt again. And some of that has to do with forgiveness. Some of that has to do with like honoring other people above yourself. And I don't know, it's a foreign concept because we are so dead set on like justice and being right and like getting what we think we deserve. And Jesus is kind of telling us the opposite. Like if you really want to follow Jesus, like be willing to take it even when it doesn't seem fair.
And honestly, like for me, if I think, okay, I walk outside, someone punches me in the face, every person outside of that, not every person, but most people, like the crowd idea there would be, yeah, punch him back. Like that's what people think. And for someone who doesn't follow Christ and doesn't necessarily think the same way that we are trying to do, like that's okay, right? I mean, you punch someone back, that's kind of how it goes. But just because people think that it's okay doesn't mean it's necessarily what we're going for. You know, like our goal is to be, not always, but our goal most of the time is to be countercultural and follow what the Bible says rather than what society says.
Sure. That's good. And I think if we're going to put this in practical, like it's easy to get wrapped up in this and think like walking out of someplace and getting punched in the face. You know, somebody making a comment that just completely just destroys your reputation at your school on social media. The reality is where you live right now, this is probably a whole lot more about like little sister's asking you for the 7th time to go play outside today and you just don't want to have it anymore. And she runs over to mom and is like, Dave, will you come outside and play with me? And like, you want to be like, shut up, that's not what I said. And like, your instant slapback is to be like all like mad at your little sister. Jesus would be like, she tells on you, she tells on you. Like,
Yeah.
That's okay, let's get over it. Like, so I would even challenge you, like, what are the little things in your house right now? What are the simple things with the people that you're closest to? Because we all know, like, we're never more open about who we really are than with the people we're closest to. So I'm sure your parents and your siblings are seeing, like, the unfiltered you right now. And maybe there ought to be a Jesus filter on there. Maybe there ought to be a slapback filter that says, you know what? They've been whining all day long, and I'm not going to get bad. I'm not going to badmouth them. I'm not going to trash them. I'm not going to make them feel stupid for the question that they asked. It was all really a dumb question. You know, maybe they've been kind of in your business, and you know you want to have your personal space, and they're just bored, and they want to see what's going on in your life. You know, maybe your mom is stressing out over finances, and her patience is gone, and you just want to be like, Mom, what's wrong with you? Maybe it's time, like we talked about Sunday, to step back and be like, you know what? You're probably going through some stress now too. You probably got some stuff going on that's a little hurtful, or maybe stuff you've never experienced before, like just like I have. So I'm going to be the bigger person here. I'm going to set the example, and I'm going to step back and say, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to slap back. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to bicker. I'm just going to step back.
It's good.
Awesome.
It's really good.
I think it's probably time to wrap up. Any final thoughts, Kaylee?
I got none.
I don't either.
Jesus said it, so do it.
Boom.
Simply put. All right. Last thing, maybe. Soon we are doing, I don't want to give away too much. We're going to do some type of challenge where you are going to challenge your small group leaders to do something culturally relevant. And Luke kind of just gave it
Way to
away.
get it.
But yeah, that's it. So get ready for that.
Also, winners get Cone Palace gift cards.